Now we're joined by the Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Al Hassan Suhini. Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Who already introduced himself.
Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's always an honor to have you.
Good morning.
We're also joined by Kwabena Kokofu. He's a member of the NPP communications team, and he is the former Member of Parliament for Bantama. Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning.
Yes. It's been a while.
How are you?
Yes, I'm fine.
It's your first time here.
Yes, this is my maiden appearance with my honorable.
It's always a pleasure to share the platform with you.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first topic. EC to set up working group for the ROPA implementation. It says here the Electoral Commission is to set up a working group that will facilitate the implementation of the Representation of the People Amendment Act. The working group, according to the EC, will be made up of representatives of registered political parties and civil society organizations. And of course, the ROPA law seeks to empower eligible Ghanaians abroad to vote in national elections. Successive governments have failed to ensure its implementation since 2006, but hopefully it will come to fruition this time around. Should we start with
Suhini? Let's start with Suhini.
Yeah, let me say good morning to our viewers, and once again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. ROPA has come a very long way. I recall when it was first passed in 2006, 2007, under President Wilberforce's government, and the NDC, my party in opposition at the time, thought that there were some issues that needed to be addressed before the implementation of the law. Somehow, the party got support from other stakeholders in the electoral process and succeeded in ensuring that the government did not implement it. The Electoral Commission, since then, have been tasked to ensure that they come up with modalities and the roadmap that will ensure the implementation. At some point, some Ghanaians abroad thought that it was taking too long for the Electoral Commission to bring out the procedures and the plans and programs that will be used to make it acceptable to all parties and feasible by way of implementation. So they took the matter to the court, that's the Accra High Court, and got a ruling in their favor. I recall that even in that particular case, the Electoral Commission was not against the implementation of ROPA. The Electoral Commission even sought to make to state the position that they were preparing and they were going to be ready by 2020 to implement it. Nonetheless, the High Court still went ahead to make it now binding on the Electoral Commission to implement the law. And I am sure that the Commission have been working on this, and many other parties have also been preparing to, help the Electoral Commission to implement it. I remember in 2014 also, when former President Mahama was abroad interacting with some Ghanaians and was asked about his position on ROPA, at the time he told the people, I'm sure that is why they took the cue to go to court, that they should compel the Electoral Commission, they should put pressure on the Electoral Commission to implement it. That was to say that personally or as a party, we're not against the implementation of ROPA. At the time that we're against it, the reasons were clearly spelled out. And over the period, it is our conviction and belief that together we can help resolve some of the issues that we raised at the time and make it implementable and to the benefit of every Ghanaian. So it is good news that the Electoral Commission is finally setting up a committee and requesting all political parties to bring representatives to look at the feasibility of implementing the law, especially as it has now even been directed by a High Court to implement it. I also think that even before the committee starts working, the idea that has been thrown out there by our General Secretary is worth considering. The fact that it will be useful for the Electoral Commission to perhaps test this, with the upcoming district assembly elections and, correct whatever mistakes they may have noticed with the implementation of the General Assembly elections, because the stakes are not as high there compared to the general elections. So it's a good idea. It's worth considering. I'm sure that when they finally put the committee together, it's one of many considerations that will be taken on board, and possibly we'll have a test run using the district assembly elections before we eventually roll it out during the general elections of 2020. So it's all well and good.
Okay. Now, we have had some concerns in respect of the ROPA. For instance, last year, Kofi Adams is looking at, post the judgment at the High Court, Kofi Adams was looking at issues of whether the difficulties in actually implementing this particular law. For instance, who's going to, whether you have people in all the various countries monitoring that this is being done well, or whether the Electoral Commission is going to resource the various political parties to even do same. Do you still?
So those were some of the reasons that the party in 2006-2007 raised about the implementation of ROPA. Now, we've come a long way. Technology has, evolved, and perhaps at the committee when they sit, some of these concerns will be raised, and, a roadmap will be identified. Even as we speak, the law makes it mandatory for every Ghanaian everywhere to be given the opportunity to vote. But practically, is that feasible? So it is when the committee meets and perhaps look at the guidelines the Electoral Commission will also propose, that even countries that will be given the opportunity to cast the ballot will be determined. Because to say that every Ghanaian living everywhere and the Electoral Commission must travel to everywhere under the sun to make it possible for Ghanaians living there to vote can also prove to be very challenging. But
that includes even the prisons in every country, because
every Ghanaian living everywhere,
even those prisoners are supposed to vote.
So that's why I'm saying that there are practical challenges that still exist. But if you look at how far we have come from 2006, we should be able to reach a consensus, a compromise, and work with that compromise. And that is why, again, it is important that we do a test run. And fortunately, we have an election that, does not have stakes as high as the general elections of 2020 on our calendar. So we can perhaps tweak around the issues and see how to practically implement the law.
Okay, fantastic. Honorable.
Yes, good morning to your cherished viewers, as usual, the President of the land and the entire leadership of our country. My people at Bantama too, they are watching you because I said I'm coming over here. The ROPA has come a long way, just as my colleague have just enumerated. 2006, it was passed into law, so the assumption was like it was going to be rolled out. But unfortunately, it was not to be. And it has survived 2 terms of NDC.
I think your phone is calling. Maybe you can put it on silent.
Sorry.
Thank you.
It has survived 2 terms of NDC in government, and we still couldn't have it, get it done. For some individuals living abroad to have taken the matter to court was quite a refreshing thing, news to hear. And the court had decided. That is mandamus. I mean, the judgment is mandamus. Yes, yes, you are forced to do what you ought to do by law. So Electoral Commission has no option. Indeed, at the court, Electoral Commission had indicated then that they are ready to do it, and they are in the process of putting things together and all that. Only to be told yesterday by the IPAC meeting that nothing as such has been done. They've got to start from the scratch. And I think it's a very good thing. Bringing our stakeholders on board and then getting the committee to work at it and the consultations. I'm told, or we are told, that it's going to be wide enough for Ghanaians to bring their views as to how best we can implement the whole process. I'm also very happy It seems all political parties buy into the idea. Consensus, at least consensus have been reached that yes, we have got to support EC to undertake that kind of exercise. But as to the nitty-gritties, the details of that, the committee will be there to help. And you made mention of Kofi Adams' concerns when the matter was pronounced on. Yes, this is the time he has got to put all that he is concerned about before the committee. And so I don't think there's much to be, we don't have much to think about. So far as the Electoral Commission has made the indication that they are going to implement what the court has asked them to do. What it is important now is for us to understand that the Electoral Commission as an institution over the past years have been in the news, and the integrity of the institution had somehow suffered some jolt. So now that we have new leadership around, it is our prayers that we get things done in a more consensus-building manner. So we don't go back to our old days where an important institution like Electoral Commission gets to the public and it's being bastardized here and there, internal wranglings and all kinds of things. We've passed that stage. And we, the citizenry, we have a responsibility to play to ensure that what needs to be done is properly done. Checks and balances within the Electoral Commissions, even though it's supposed to be an independent institution. We are the stakeholders, we Ghanaians, the civil society organizations and all others must show interest in whatever happens within the Electoral Commission. Not as to direct them as against the law, no, but we have got to be very, very show interest. And then the state, the government must also do its bit by providing the needed logistics and support for the Electoral Commission to discharge their duties effectively. At the end of the day, yes, we all be beneficiaries if we have stronger institutions. They are well-oiled and well-grounded and firmed, working independently of any long hands from wherever there is. So I'm happy that we are at this stage.
Okay. Now if I could just make a quick point on an issue that is of national concern, as he has, that he raised, and it has to do with the image of our state institutions. I think as political players, it is important that we all play our role in ensuring that we do not needlessly taint the institutions of state that are especially, supposed to jealously protect and grow this democratic experiment of the Fourth Republic. I say so minded by the fact that, yes, indeed, the Electoral Commission in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years have been in the news for the very wrong reasons. But honestly and sincerely speaking, I think it can largely be blamed on the rules and the thoughts and the conduct of political players. The Electoral Commission today is not in the news for the wrong reasons because some political parties have decided not to, play the same game that we used in the past to taint the Electoral Commission. It all started with an appointment of an electoral commissioner. That is the duty of a president. That's how it all started. And the things that were said about the appointment and the conjecturing about reasons why the appointment was done, that was the basis. And so it led to other, people thinking they could take advantage of that, atmosphere that had been created to undo each other. And in the process, the commission was in the news for all the wrong reasons. Today, as we speak, another president has appointed another electoral commissioner. And I said it when the electoral commissioner was appointed, that interestingly for us, all the reasons that led to a political party or its actors to create that unnecessary storm exist also in this appointment. Why? It's a lady that is also appointed, who is also married, who is also a lawyer, who is also beautiful. So all the conjecturings that were done...
I don't think that initial conjecture that you're referring to were salient reasons. The salient reasons for the appointment of the former EAC went to court. The court made a determination on it. Whether the appointment was on the advice of the Council of State and Judicial Service, amongst others. Sorry, on the advice of the Council of State.
That was not needless. That was not needless.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Those were the salient points that went to court. The court already made a determination. As
I'm not talking about that
she's married and those things. Those were just...
I'm not talking about the fact that somebody thought that the Council of State should have been. That's testing the law. There was nothing wrong absolutely with that. I'm talking about those other issues, about why she was appointed, the suggestions that she was appointed to rig an election in favor of a political party, about the fact that she had some amorous relationship with the man.
I think those comments died, and even those comments. Yes, those comments when they started.
And I think that there was also another generation of people who actually said, "I'm with."
I don't want us to repeat it, but I'm saying that it was a bad thing to do. Let's not repeat it.
Yes.
And it didn't come from, I don't think it came from just one group of people.
Yeah, I'm saying let us not repeat it. I'm saying the Electoral Commission is peaceful and working today because we are not repeating that same thing. And it is good for our country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I don't want us to go back and forth on the issue.
I think it's okay.
So now let's go on to our next story. We'll just introduce our next story really briefly.
Yes, so the next story here, I'm reading from the Ghanaian Times. It says, I have no personal interest in the creation of new regions. That's coming from our president. And I think we should take a quick break and then look into that, that story. And remember to let us know your thoughts with the hashtag BreakfastDaily and the WhatsApp line. 0550-585-832. So keep your comments coming. We shall read them as and when they come.
City TV is live. City TV is a free-to-air digital channel. On a digital TV, please press menu on your remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a multi-TV digibox. Tune into City TV and experience your world. City TV, it's your world.
Hi, good morning. My name is Michelle Atto. You're tuned into Breakfast Daily on City TV. Good morning.
Okay, welcome back to Breakfast Daily. We are still joined by Honorable Hassan Suhini and, of course, Kwabena Kokofu. Honorable Hassan Suhini, Member of Parliament for Tamale North, and Kwabena Kokofu is an MPP Communications team member and also former Member of Parliament for Bantama. So we are going straight to our next story.
Yes, our next story here says, I have no personal interest in creation of new regions. That's coming from the president, and I'm reading from page 17 of the Ghanaian Times. It says here, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has dismissed allegations that his administration is pushing for the creation of new regions for his personal political interest. According to the president, the government has nothing to gain or lose from the outcome of the referendum for the creation of the new regions. And I'm going to quote him briefly. He says here, it cannot be the machination of a few people. If the people do not want it, it will not happen. If they want it, it will happen. A lot of heat is being generated about this referendum. I don't have any plans to benefit from the referendum. I went to the area, people made demands, and we said that if we got to power, we would put the constitutional process to test to see if it can happen. So he's just saying they are creating the new regions because it's demanded by the people.
And there's been a bit of agitation in respect of the creation of the OT region amongst, I think, the Northeast. So this is a good call because instead of the agitation, there will be a referendum, like the president is saying. So let's leave it to the people to decide. Yeah. I'll start with you.
Let's start with let's start with
with me. Yes,
I could come on.
The president is saying he doesn't have any interest in this whatsoever.
Yes, it was a frank discussion that the president had with a section of the chiefs from the Volta region when they paid a courtesy call on him. And it was also timely and quite important for the people of Ghana to understand and to know the stand of the president in the whole issues. It's like it's the first time regions are being created here. No, we have the historical antecedent. We know the upper region was divided into two. We know back years when Brong-Ahafo had to be carved out of Shanti and all kinds of things and all that. And if you read further, the president says at least there was some kind of consensus leading to the those who were vying for the presidency. It was not he himself alone who came up with the idea of creation of new regions in response to the demands of the people. His other colleagues also had the same thing, and it was said open. So if at this point the constitutional machinery is being activated to see whether it is feasible, whether it can be done or not. And a section of our people take up this matter and raise it to the level of agitations and accusations here and there. You become a bit frustrated. It's quite frustrating. So the president has said it all, and I think our brothers and sisters in those affected areas will take it in good faith. The referendum is for the section of the people who are supposed to get a new region. So it is a yes and no vote. If they vote yes, then it happens. If they vote no, they want to stay with the mother region, then that also happens. So, and we the politicians again, we must be wary of some of these things. Sometimes we just needlessly fuel some of these agitations in order to score our own political points. And so we must be cautioned and in order not to start any unnecessary conflicts among our people and the communities that are affected. I'm with the president, and I think he was right on it. And he said it to the chiefs, not any other platform, but in a very friendly, cordial relationship. Okay. You see, some of the newspapers they've reported Akufo-Addo fires, voter chiefs and all that. They are for mischief, and it cannot be taken serious.
Okay.
The most important thing is that the president have had a cordial relationship, cordial, frank discussions with his respected chiefs and our respected chiefs.
Thank you. Honorable.
Well, I agree when my honorable colleague says that there was a consensus even before the elections among at least the two major political parties on the creation of regions. I think the NDC proposed to create 4, I don't quite remember, and the NPP proposed 5. No, the NDC proposed 5, the NPP proposed 4. Now we are going to end up with 6. And so it tells you that, yes, it is correct that both parties made that pledge to further divide this country into more regions. But I also wish I could agree when the president says he has no interest. I think that it's not a frank position. I think it is dishonest to say that.
Please explain.
To say that he does not stand to benefit. I mean, all political parties make promises, and they intend to fulfill those promises. And when they fulfill those promises, they use it as a trump card for re-election. So if he didn't think that it will benefit his political party, he wouldn't have promised it. So he does have an interest, and his interest is in satisfying the needs of the people. If he says that it was requested, by the people. So that, for me, should be admitted. That look,
but
I have
it's
a political.
It's not really a personal interest. It's just an interest in serving the needs of the people. That's what you're saying.
People, when they want to be president, have a personal interest in being president. And the personal interest could be to serve the people.
So that's a good thing.
That's
what every leader should
I am
do,
not
to
saying
serve
it's
the
bad,
people.
but there is an interest in the creation of the regions. So
to serve the people.
There is an interest.
Okay.
So if the president says, I don't have an
He
interest.
says, I don't have a personal interest.
Well, what I'm saying is that the president led the NPP campaign. He held the manifesto and said, this is what we are coming to deliver. If he does it, he will get applauded. If he doesn't, he will get slammed.
Okay.
So if he does it, the personal benefit is that he will be applauded.
Okay.
And it has to be admitted. So that is the personal interest there. Now, beyond this, I have already said that both political parties, wanted to create more regions. But personally, I have been very hesitant to agree that the best way to develop this country is to further split it into, smaller groups like we are doing, especially when it is being done on ethnic lines, as I see it. I think I don't push that personal view so much because I think the current, drive to create more regions is fueled more by sentiments and not practical, logical assessments. And so if you go against it too much, a particular ethnic group may begin to think, you are against them. But personally, like I said, my party's position is known. But personally, I've always wondered what we have gotten from the creation of districts, for example. We had about 100 districts. Now we have over 200 districts. And all these creations of districts, we are told, were supposed to fast-track development. But is that the case in those districts that have been created? How have those districts impacted or fast-tracked the developments of those areas? And, people say it is a way of getting our share of the national cake. That is logical. That is reasonable. But then again, is that not an admission that as a people and as leaders, we have skewed the distribution of the national cake to a point that the only way you can also get a part of it is to get, a position that will allow you to benefit from the known way of sharing the cake. And the known way of sharing the cake as we speak now is the fact that you have allocations to district assemblies. And you have allocations to regional regions. So if you see that the concentration of development is in certain parts of the country, the only way you can also get more is to split your site so that you get more.
What would have been the alternative?
No. So for me, the alternative should be, shouldn't we be questioning how we allocate resources then?
Instead of creating new
Instead
districts
of creating new districts and new regions.
But there's also an issue of convenience, for instance.
Yes, the issue of convenience.
So if you need to go to a district office, for instance, you don't need to...
I'll give you an example. In the Brong-Ahafo region, now they want to split it. You have areas I think, Atebubu and Techima now fighting over the capital.
Yeah.
And it's all because of convenience, like you said. Now, the claim is that the current capital is too far away from the other areas. But is that really the problem? What I know, because of the opportunity to travel around the country, is that the distance is not usually the problem. It's the road network. That is the problem.
Should we wrapping up?
It's the road network that is the problem.
So the road network will allow
the last,
people from community A to access it.
If we instead of asking for a region, we are asking for a region because they hope if they get a region, they'll get allocation that will improve the road network in their area. So instead of, like the last check, about 290 million or so is supposed to be used to create these additional regions. My thinking is, and that is just for the referendum, my thinking is, maybe these regions or the areas that want the regions are deprived. And so they think they by so doing, they will get their share. Why don't we share the 290 million specifically for them to improve their roads so they can access? If you could just allow me, there's one important point I need to make. Please, if you could just allow one important. I mean, this was general. But coming from Dagbon, because he also spoke about, some of the issues that have come up. Sometimes we also need to take into consideration the sensitivities of the people who will be affected. As a representative of Dagbon, I cannot, because I'm a politician, insulate myself from the position that has been taken by Dagbon. And the Dagbon Traditional Council have said repeatedly, and only last week held a press conference again, with all the chiefs in Dagbon attending, to say that the traditional authority is unopposed to the creation of new regions. But the traditional authority does not want any part of its land or any area under its jurisdiction to fall in another region.
For instance, Chirponi.
So the position is that you go ahead, create the regions, because you say you are creating it for people who have requested. Dagbon has not requested. So leave us the way we are. Now there is an attempt by this government to force Chirponi to be part of the Northeast by sending electoral commission officers there together with
the
military
people will
men.
vote. That's the bottom line.
Just a moment. You see, the people will vote. Why do you even subject them to a vote when they have not requested for
But
it?
if they don't want it, they'll vote against it.
But you see, let me come in here. You see, it's a very sensitive issue, and it is not for us as politicians to hide behind and fuel some of these sentiments. The very reasons that were cogent at the time of creating Upper East, Upper West regions must be appropriate now. You see, you have regions and you have a regional capital, and whether you like it or not, our developmental programs have been skewed around regional capitals. It becomes the attracting point. So, in order to bring development to the people directly and asking the people to participate in the democratic dispensation of this country from the grassroots, it is informative to get administrative offices and administrative machinery down there, as in the districts, creation as in the regions and all that. So all that Honorable is trying to say, I wish you should have advised his candidate then and his party to stay away from the creations, because
he said he's speaking for himself, not on behalf of the party.
Yes, so personally, he should have impressed upon his party not to go there. He did not, and he swam in that promise. They did not win power, so they cannot implement their promise.
No, but it also says here that the president says he's only doing it for people who requested it. So if communities say we don't request it, then they should be left alone because they didn't request for it, right?
No. You see, administrative boundaries must be clearly be differentiated from traditional and communal boundaries. The creation of regions means administrative. I mean, it's just administrative. So traditional authorities and their jurisdictions will not in any way be tampered with. If you take Eastern region, for instance, it's so heterogeneous. I mean, all kinds of ethnic groups forming the region. So I wouldn't want to belabor much on those things. You made a good point. If the people do not want it, they will go and vote no.
No, that's all.
You have not requested it.
No.
You haven't requested it. But administratively, creation of the boundaries may affect your area. So you simply vote no.
Yeah.
So that you are not included.
Okay.
No,
now
I think
go on to another story.
I think you seem to agree with it, but at least, even if as you agree with it, can you permit me to make my point? Maybe others will agree.
We are believing this story a bit much.
No, this is a second bite. Can I also have a second bite? Just be fair.
Well,
thank you.
No, unless he's done. Are you done with your submission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point about people, the point about people voting against it if they don't like it is defeated by the fact that Ghanaians are not allowed to vote except those who request it. Why are we not allowed to vote? Because we are not part of it. That is why the voting is restricted to the areas that have requested that will be carved up. That is why Greater Accra will not vote.
The voting, constitutionally, the voting is restricted to where the committee set up decides that these areas...
I understand. Yes. The committee decides the demarcation.
Yes.
And we are told that...
It's not about who requested for it. It's the committee's decision.
The committee...
Please allow
can I at least... I know you don't agree with me, but if you just allow me to make my point without interrupting me, so I wrap up. The committee was working based on petitions that requested for the regions. They were not working in vacuum to just decide where people vote. So the people of Charpani, they are part of Dagbon, and they did not request, and Dagbon hasn't requested. So we are saying that, and just like Greater Accra hasn't requested, you can't come and ask people in Osu to vote. So we are saying allow it. And when my honorable colleague says that it does not affect traditional boundaries, I beg to differ. We have examples in the Brong-Ahafo and the Ashanti regions today, where sometimes there are traditional clashes involving, installation of chiefs, especially in relation to who the chief pays allegiance to. Today, we have it in this country.
Okay.
And it is all because of the way the Ashanti region was carved out. So you have some people, some traditional leaders in Brong-Ahafo region, but are supposed to pay allegiance to the Ashanti region. And you have those frictions sometimes coming up. To prevent those frictions, we as a traditional authority are saying that we do not want to create problems for ourselves.
I just want to make this very clear at this point that Article 5.3, Article 5 Clause 3 says, if notwithstanding that a petition has not been presented to the President, he, on the advice of the Council of State, satisfied that a need has arisen for the taking of any of the steps in ABC, that's for merger, creation of new region, amongst others. So it's not always that a petition needs to be presented to the President. The President, on the advice of the Council of State...
Read further. There are three ways of creating regions in this country. That's the first one you have read.
The first one is by petition.
The first one is by petition. And the President has told us the one he is using. Read the whole clause.
I'll read the whole clause. You read. That's fine.
Yeah.
So it says, if notwithstanding that a petition has not been presented to him, the President, on the advice of the Council of State, satisfied that the need has arisen for the taking of the steps referred to in paragraphs A, B, and C of Clause 1. He may, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, appoint a commission of inquiry to inquire into the need and to make a recommendation on all the factors involved in the creation of the region.
So let me maybe we have different interpretations of it.
No, this is a clear thing.
The first, can you pardon me? Can you pardon me? If you raise the issue, let me also raise my issue. Thank you. The first one talks about the executive authority. The President can decide that I'm going to create regions without forming a committee.
That is not the first one. The first one has to do with the petition. Then the Constitution says if there had not been any petition at all, suo motu,
the President can do it
based on consultation with Council of Elders. May initiate.
That is the one you are reading. The President can suo motu, based with consultation of Council of Elders, do it. But our President has told us that he's not doing it suo motu. He's using the other option where people request for it, and then you form a committee to go around. And based on the committee's recommendation, you've created the region. If the president was doing it so moto, my argument would have been moot.
Okay.
But I think
the president is not doing it. So
I don't believe at this point.
Let me take this one out. You say
you also come back again.
It is not on this line.
Okay.
During his earlier submissions, he made mention the president being dishonest. Of course, I don't think it was necessary to use the word dishonest.
I said he wasn't honest.
Yeah, you said...
It wasn't frank.
You said...
Oh,
He used the word dishonesty on the part of the president, which I think it was unnecessary.
Okay.
I mean, because... And then he built his argument on the fact that the president personally will have an
we
interest.
understood what he said.
Yeah, personally will have an interest and all that. But you see, a president of a country has the entire nation at his heart.
Wow.
And yes, and it is presumed that the president's interest is the overall public good. Whatever good is for the nation.
Okay, thank you.
He was frank, and he was actually candid in saying that he has no vested political
Now, just
interest.
to talk about another story here, page 2 of the final newspaper says bloodshed at Drobo and Japekrom.
Yes, so it says bloodshed and chaos has hit the towns of Drobo and Japekrom in the Jaman South district of Borno Ahafo region, culminating in the unfortunate death of 2 adults while a 1-year-old baby with a bullet stuck in his head and a man, 33, with pallets logged in his throat are battling for their dear life. As a result of this, they've gone through a curfew which took effect yesterday, starting from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. each day. And this is really a result of, it says here that the Atasenya, the dead Atasenya, who was just 42 years old, has been identified as the Mantehene, the youth chief of Japekrom, and one Kwame Blackie, who is just 40, were both found with gunshot wounds, and they went somewhere to perform some rites, right? And on their way back, they found out that the road was blocked, and this sparked some violence, and now they are dead.
Honorable.
Yeah, this is a very sad issue, and with a heavy heart, I think that we all have to urge the people to calm down and dialogue further, understand the issues that have led to this disaster have been in the courts for some time now. Rulings have been made, but both sides continue to interpret the rulings differently, and maybe it is time leadership is shown by the administrators of the region and by extension the country in establishing exactly what the ruling is and enforcing same. I also think that some of these things you will expect that warning signals are picked up by our security agencies to enable them move into action to forestall it. I'm going to be brief on this matter because I'm hoping we can talk about another disaster that is to the living and not the dead, talking about the tariffs.
Okay, then let's wrap up on this one really briefly.
Yes. But my condolences to those who have lost their lives on this matter. And I hope that the regional security committee will handle the situation. I understand they have imposed a curfew there, and maybe it will calm tempers.
Okay.
So, as Honorable said, this is over a piece of land. I mean, haven't we moved past this stage?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate, and we have pockets of these things on our hands as a nation. Down here in Accra, the capital city, many a times you hear these langas butchering one another, people here and there, people being shot because of land. And if you go to our courts, about almost 75% of cases in the courts are land-related issues.
Yes.
And so it tells you that we have such a complex, intractable, unintractable land tenure systems, land ownership and all kinds of things. So when it comes to traditional land ownership, it's another jurisdiction, it's another area all by itself. That weaves into chieftaincy and all manner of authority, traditional authority issues. This is uncalled for. It's very unfortunate.
Isn't there a way the security forces could have preempted this? Maybe they could have solved this so that we didn't have to lose lives.
Well, for all you know, most of these things might have been nipped in the bud over a period, but it is not always the case that these intelligence picking could lead to preempting some of these things.
Fantastic.
It's very unfortunate. Those who have lost their lives, condolences to the families and all that. And in all this, innocent people suffer most. You take women, you take children, the most vulnerable in our society, communities everywhere. They do suffer the most. A 1-year-old, sustaining bullet injury. What has he or she done?
That's sad.
To get to
now
this
I want us to move on to
the regional minister designate must be commended in this. How swiftly the RegSec came in, and he wrote to the interior minister to ask for this curfew. We appeal to the young lads over there.
To calm down.
The youth. They are the most
vulnerable, maybe. Now, mixed reactions greet telco's tariff review. 5% adjustment takes off effect November 1. So what's happening is that all the telecom companies in Ghana have agreed, per the statement by the CEO of the Chamber of Telecommunications Companies, that post the first day of November, there will be an increase, and this is a response to the tax adjustments, more or less. I'll start with you, Hassan Suhini, on the story.
First of all, I think that it is not pleasant news, and maybe it's important that at this point one calls on the media especially to begin to pay more attention to what the opposition says, and rather take what the government says with a pinch of salt. I recall before the budget was read, as a minority group, we raised issues with a possible implementation or introduction of a tax on communication services. And this was based on, a suggestion or a hint that we got from the Facebook wall of Mr. Gabi Ochoridako. Now, based on the public outcry that greeted our, press conference, the government decided to bury that introduction in another form and sought to ridicule the opposition. But even then, we insisted that what they had done was worse than what they were going to do. But because people didn't really pay attention, I'm sure they got carried away and thought the opposition cried wolf when there was no wolf. Now, the evidence is in what is happening with regards to the possible, not possible, imminent, increase of tariffs as far as voice and data is concerned.
But couldn't they meet with the telcos and perhaps reach an agreement that the telcos will eat up some of the costs so that the customers don't pay the price?
That is going to be very difficult. There's a tax that has been imposed. The telcos have to pay that tax. The government cannot go and renegotiate that unless they come to Parliament to review that tax. So there's a tax the telcos are paying, and they are saying they will have to pass it on to the consumer. And that is a vindication of the position that we took, that the decision to bury the introduction in the way that they did, just to avoid the backlash that was starting, was rather worse than what they even intended to do. Today, even the breweries are increasing the prices of their, beverages simply because of that same decision to bury the tax in the form that they did, just to avoid that public backlash. So it is important that we go beyond the hype as citizens when some of these issues come up and really look at the inputs and the eventual impact on all of us. Today, we are going to pay more, whether we like it or not. The telecoms are going to increase, and the government is going to get more money and we don't even know what the government is doing with the more money that they are getting. In fact, apart from the loans that they are getting, they are also, that they are bringing in, which they criticize. They are also increased. They have also increased revenue. The revenue that they are getting from taxes and even oil production is so much. Yet you don't see any, infrastructure development that can last the test of time. And all we are confronted with is the demand on us to pay more. I think perhaps it's just to support that large size that they have.
Thank you very much, Alhassan Suhuyini. And now we'll take a final comment from Nampo Kofu.
Yes.
Briefly.
Yes. The intent, that's an intention to review the prices.
It seems like a determination. It doesn't seem like it's a conversation that they are going to have.
I'm using my words from the. Yes, they said they have the intent. Whether it comes on or not is another issue. But then we must demand money for value. The telcos are talking about reviewing their tariffs because of new tax regimes and all that. But have they considered the quality of services they are selling out to their customers? And these are the things Ghanaian consumer, we must be ready and prepared to fight for. They must up their game and then provide the needed quality services that comes with our tariffs going. My brother veered into the area of government getting more money. That's not new. But they were here only yesterday or so, 2 days. These 100,000 Ghanaians, young people, NAPCO, having been employed. And it is the taxpayers' money that we're going to use to support these programs. So all the monies you haven't seen, with the SHS free one going, with all these things there.
But we do need to address some infrastructure challenges that we have as a nation as well. And I think that was his point.
Come next year, you will see more of those.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
very much. Kwabena Kogofu is a member of the NPP communications team. He's also the former member of parliament for Bantama constituency, and not forgetting our very own Alhassan, Honorable Alhassan Suhuyini, a regular guest on this show. He's a member of parliament for Tamale North. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming, and we hope to see more of you. Yes.